December 31st, 2025, 11:47 p.m. Seoul, South
Look, I need to know
Korea.
what you're
I was sitting alone in my closet-sized apartment, watching fireworks through my window, crying into a bowl of ramen, with a one-way ticket to Chicago pulled up on my laptop screen. My finger was hovering over the purchase button. One click. That's all it would take to leave Korea forever. To admit that I'd failed. To accept that maybe some dreams just aren't meant for black women like me. But I didn't click. Because at 11:58 p.m. on New Year's Eve, my phone rang. And the voice on the other end would change my life in ways I never could have imagined. My name is Maya Johnson. I'm a 28-year-old black woman from Chicago. And this is the story of how I almost gave up on Korea until Korea gave me a reason to stay. Hit that subscribe button right now, because the AfroKorean StoryVault is about to take you on a journey you won't forget. Let's go. Let me take you back 6 hours. To understand why I was ready to leave, you need to know what led me to that moment. It was 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve. Seoul was alive. People rushing to celebrations, restaurants packed, couples everywhere holding hands, laughter spilling out of every building. And there I was, walking through Hongdae alone. Again. I'd been teaching English in Korea for 18 months. 18 months of being stared at on the subway. 18 months of restaurants accidentally being full when I walked in. 18 months of dating apps where Korean men would match with me just to ask, "Have you ever been with an Asian guy before?" Like I was some kind of experiment. I was tired. Tired of being invisible and hypervisible at the same time. Tired of smiling through microaggressions. Tired of other foreign teachers, white teachers, getting promoted while I got passed over. Tired of being strong when all I wanted was to be soft. My teaching contract was ending in 2 weeks. My savings account had 850,000 won left, barely enough for rent and a flight home. I had no job lined up, no prospects, no reason to stay. So I went back to my apartment, ordered ramen from the convenience store, and started looking at flights. Chicago, February 1st. One-way .1, 500, 0001. I could almost taste my mama's cooking. Almost feel my little brother's hug. Almost hear my best friend Keisha saying, "Girl, I told you Korea wasn't ready for you." But something stopped me from clicking buy. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was that tiny voice inside saying, "You didn't come all this way to give up on New Year's Eve." So instead, I did something crazy. I opened my phone and texted my only friend in Korea, Sarah, a Korean-American teacher I'd met at orientation. "Any New Year's parties happening? I need to do something before I leave this country for good." She responded immediately, "Leave? Girl, no. Come to this rooftop party in Gangnam. My company is hosting. Lots of people, open bar, amazing view of fireworks. You're coming. No excuses." She sent me the address. Part of me wanted to say no, wanted to stay home and wallow. But the other part, the part that moved to Korea in the first place, said, "What do you have to lose?" So I put on my best dress. This emerald green number that hugged every curve. The one that made me feel like I could conquer the world. Did my makeup. Wrapped my hair in a silk scarf and styled it into a high bun. Put on the heels I'd been saving for a special occasion. If this was my last night in Korea, I was going out looking like the queen I am. I arrived at the party at 9:30 p.m. The rooftop was stunning. String lights everywhere. Seoul's skyline glittering below. A DJ playing a mix of K-pop and American hits. Tables loaded with Korean and Western food. And people, so many people, laughing, dancing, celebrating. I felt completely out of place. Everyone seemed to know each other. They were speaking rapid Korean, forming tight circles, and when I tried to join conversations, I got polite smiles but no real engagement. I found Sarah by the bar. "Maya, you made it." She hugged me tight. "You look amazing." "Okay. Stay here, mingle. I'll be back. I have to go say hi to my boss real quick." And she disappeared into the crowd, leaving me alone. Again. I grabbed a drink, some fruity soju cocktail, and found a quiet corner of the rooftop, leaned against the railing, looked out at the city that had never quite felt like home. It was 10:47 p.m. 1 hour and 13 minutes until the new year. 1 hour and 13 minutes until I could leave this party, go home, and book that flight. I pulled out my phone to scroll through Instagram, because that's what you do when you're alone at a party. When a voice beside me said in perfect English, "Hiding from the party or hiding from the year?" I turned, and I swear to God, my heart stopped. Standing next to me was the most beautiful man I'd ever seen in my life. Tall, about 6 feet 1 inch. Sharp jawline. Dark, intense eyes that seemed to see right through me. Black hair styled perfectly. Wearing a tailored navy suit that screamed money. But it wasn't just his looks. It was the way he carried himself. Confident without being arrogant, powerful without being intimidating. He was looking at me with genuine curiosity. Not the usual stare I got in Korea. Not the wow, a black woman look. Just interest.
Sorry.
I managed to say, finding my voice. He smiled, this small, knowing smile, and gestured to my phone. You're at one of the best New Year's parties in Seoul, but you're scrolling through Instagram. Either you're hiding from the party, or you're hiding from the year. I couldn't help but laugh. Maybe both. Mind if I hide with you? Free country, I said, though my pulse was racing. He leaned against the railing next to me, and we stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then,
I'm Junho.
Junho. Maya Johnson. American. Chicago. You. Seoul born and raised. Though I studied in the States, Harvard Business School. Of course he did. Let me guess, I said, feeling bold from the soju. You're a CEO of some tech company, you're here because this is your company's party, and you're making polite conversation with the random foreign girl because that's what successful people do. He laughed. Actually laughed, this rich, warm sound. Close. CEO, yes. Tech company, no. Real estate and hospitality. And I'm not making polite conversation. I'm making intentional conversation. What's the difference? Polite conversation is when you talk to someone because you have to. Intentional conversation is when you talk to someone because you want to. He turned to look at me directly. And I very much want to talk to you. My breath caught. Why? I asked because I'd learned not to trust easy words from men, especially in Korea. Because, he said simply, in a room full of people trying very hard to impress me, you're the only one who looked genuinely unimpressed. And because he hesitated like he was deciding whether to be honest. Because you look like you're carrying the weight of something heavy. And I know what that feels like. I didn't know what to say to that. So instead I asked, what are you carrying? Expectations, he said. My father built this company from nothing. I'm supposed to take it further, make it bigger. But sometimes I wonder if I'm building someone else's dream or my own. I nodded slowly. I get that. Everyone back home expected me to be a doctor or lawyer. Instead, I became a teacher and moved to Korea. They thought I was crazy. Are you? Maybe, I admitted. Especially since I'm planning to leave in 2 weeks. His expression shifted. You're leaving Korea? Yeah. Contract's up. No reason to stay. No reason, he repeated. Or no one's given you a reason? I looked at him, really looked at him, and, for the first time in months, I felt seen. Can I ask you something? Junho said. And please be honest. Okay. How has Korea treated you? Really treated you? I could have given him the polite answer. The it's been great. Such an experience answer. But something about the way he asked, like he actually wanted to know, made me tell the truth. Honestly, I took a breath. Korea has been one of the hardest experiences of my life. I've been discriminated against more times than I can count. Restaurants refuse to seat me. Taxis drive past me. I've been rejected from 17 apartments because landlords don't want black tenants. At my school, I do the same work as my white colleagues but get paid less and respected less. Korean parents request I don't teach their children. And dating. I laughed bitterly. Let's just say being a black woman in the Korean dating scene is an experience. Junho was quiet for a long moment. Then, I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing? You didn't do any of that.
No.
But I'm Korean. and my country has failed you. We like to pride ourselves on hospitality, but clearly we've shown you none of that. His voice was sincere, almost pained. You deserve better than how we've treated you. I felt tears threatening, because in 18 months, no Korean person had ever acknowledged what I'd been through. They'd gaslight me, tell me I was being too sensitive, that I was imagining things. But here was the stranger, this CEO, this man who had everything, validating my pain. Thank you for saying that, I whispered. I mean it. He paused. Can I tell you something? Sure. When I walked onto this rooftop and saw you standing here, looking out at the city, you took my breath away. Not just because you're beautiful, though you absolutely are, but because you looked like you belonged to yourself, like you didn't need anyone's permission to exist. And I thought, I have to talk to that woman. I have to know who she is. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. Junho. I know this is crazy. I know we just met 15 minutes ago. But Maya, can I ask you something? What? Don't leave Korea yet. Give me a chance to show you that not all of Korea is what you've experienced. Let me show you the Seoul I know, the beauty you haven't seen, the people who would appreciate you, not tolerate you. I stared at him. You don't even know me. Then let me get to know you. Stay through January. Give me 1 month. If at the end of 30 days you still want to leave, I'll personally drive you to the airport. But if I can show you even one reason to stay, he smiled. Then maybe you'll reconsider. Why would you do that? Why do you care? He looked out at the city, then back at me. Because 2 years ago, I almost left Korea too. I was burned out, exhausted, questioning everything. And someone gave me a reason to stay. Someone showed me that home isn't always where you're from. Sometimes it's where you're meant to be. Maybe I can be that person for you. Before I could respond, the countdown started.
10, 9, 8.
The crowd chanted. 10, 9, 8. Maya, Junho said urgently. I know this is insane, but something is telling me that you walking into my life tonight isn't a coincidence. It's fate, and I don't want to let fate walk away without fighting for it.
7, 6, 5.
7, 6, 5. 1 month, he said. That's all I'm asking.
셋, 둘, 하나.
3, 2, 1. Fireworks exploded over Seoul. The sky lit up in golds and silvers and reds. The crowd erupted in cheers. And in that moment, looking at this man I just met, this stranger who somehow felt familiar, I made a decision that would change everything. Okay, I said. 1 month. Junho's smile was brighter than the fireworks. Happy New Year, Maya. Happy New Year, Junho. And as Seoul celebrated 2026, I had no idea that this moment, this decision, would lead me to the love story I never knew I was waiting for. The next morning, January 1st, I woke up convinced last night had been a dream. The party, the stranger, the promise. All of it felt too perfect, too cinematic, too good to be real. But then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Good morning, Maya. I hope you're not hungover from celebrating. Meet me at Bukshan Hanok Village at 2 p.m. Dress warm. Junho. My heart raced. It was real. He was real. I spent 2 hours getting ready, changing outfits 4 times, doing my makeup, styling my hair, nervous like I was going on a first date, which I guess I was. Bukshan Hanok Village is one of Seoul's most beautiful neighborhoods. Traditional Korean houses with curved roofs, narrow alleys, stunning views. I'd been once before, but it was crowded with tourists and I'd felt out of place. But when I arrived at 2 p.m., Junho was waiting. And he wasn't alone. Standing with him was a tiny Korean grandmother, maybe 75 years old, dressed in a traditional hanbok, with the warmest smile I'd ever seen. Maya! Junho waved me over. I want you to meet someone very special. This is Mrs. Kim. She's lived in this neighborhood for 60 years. She's going to give us a private tour. Mrs. Kim bowed, and I bowed back, unsure what to say. Then she spoke in heavily accented but clear English. Pretty girl. Very pretty. You make Seoul better. I almost cried right there. For the next 3 hours, Mrs. Kim walked us through hidden courtyards and family homes, telling stories of old Seoul. She introduced me to her neighbors, who welcomed me with tea and rice cakes. They asked about Chicago, complimented my Korean, which was terrible, and treated me like an honored guest.
No stares.
No judgment, just warmth. As we walked, Junho told me about his work. His company, Kong Hospitality Group, owned luxury hotels and restaurants across Asia. But his passion project was creating spaces that celebrated diversity. I want to build hotels where everyone feels welcome, he said. Where a black woman from Chicago or a Mexican man from Guadalajara or anyone from anywhere walks in and feels like they belong. That's beautiful, I said. It's personal, he replied. My mother was Korean American, mixed. She faced discrimination her whole life. Not Asian enough for Korea, not American enough for the States. She taught me that belonging is something we create, not something we inherit. I squeezed his hand without thinking. He squeezed back. Day 5. Junho took me to a black-owned soul food restaurant in Itaewon I didn't know existed.
You haven't touched your
The
food.
owner, a sister from Atlanta,
I just don't know if
had
this is the
married
right
a
move
Korean
for us
man
right
and
now.
opened the restaurant 10 years ago. We ate mac and cheese and fried chicken and collard greens, and I almost wept because I hadn't tasted home in so long. Day 9, we went to a museum exhibit on multicultural Korea. Photos and stories of interracial families, mixed-race Koreans, immigrants making lives here. Junho walked beside me quietly, letting me process. Day 14, he invited me to dinner with his friends, a group of Korean professionals, some who'd lived abroad, some who hadn't. They were curious, respectful, genuinely interested in my story. One woman, a lawyer, said, "Korea is changing, slowly but changing. We need people like you to stay and help us do better." Day 19, Junho took me hiking at Bukhansan Mountain. At the summit, overlooking Seoul, he said, "You've been here almost 3 weeks. How are you feeling?" "Confused," I admitted. "A month ago, I couldn't wait to leave. Now, I looked out at the city. Now I'm starting to see what you see, the possibilities. And," he pressed gently, "and I'm scared," I whispered, "because what if this is just a bubble? What if the real Korea is what I experienced before and this is just an exception?" Junho turned to face me fully. "Maya, I won't lie to you. Korea has a long way to go. Racism exists here and you'll face it again. But the question isn't whether hard things will happen. The question is, will you have people by your side when they do?" "Will I?" I asked. "Will you be by my side?" "If you'll let me," he said. "I want to be more than your tour guide, Maya. I want to be more." My breath caught. "Junho." "I'm falling for you," he said simply. "I've been falling since New Year's Eve. And I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I can't pretend I don't feel it." "I feel it too," I whispered. "But I'm terrified. What if?" He kissed me. Right there, at the top of Bukhansan Mountain, with all of Seoul spread below us, Junho kissed me. And it felt like coming home. Of course, it couldn't be that simple. On day 22, reality crashed in. Junho invited me to dinner with his father, Kang Dae-young, the founder and chairman of Kong Hospitality Group. The man Junho had been trying to impress his whole life. I was terrified. We met at a private restaurant in Gangnam. Traditional Korean, very formal. Junho's father was in his 60s, distinguished, intimidating. He greeted me with a polite bow, but I could see the calculation in his eyes. Dinner started well enough. We made small talk about Chicago, teaching Korea. But then, Chairman Kong switched to Korean and started speaking directly to Junho.
I quote enough words to understand. 적합하지 않다. not suitable. 회사 이미지, 컴퍼니 이미지, 외국인, 포리너.
He was talking about me, like I wasn't there.
Junho já te gened.
He responded in Korean, voice firm. I heard him say my name, heard him argue. Chairman Kong switched back to English, addressing me directly. "Ms. Johnson, my son tells me you're considering staying in Korea." "Yes, sir." "May I ask why?" "Because of your son," I wanted to say. But instead, because I'm starting to see the beauty I missed before. The potential. "Potential," he repeated, like the word tasted bad. Ms. Johnson, forgive my bluntness, but Korea is not an easy place for someone like you. You've experienced this already. Yes. Yes. And yet you want to stay. For what? For my son. The air was thick with tension. With respect, Chairman Kong, I'm not staying for anyone but myself. If Junho is part of that decision, it's because he's shown me kindness in a place where I've experienced very little. But I'm not some foreign woman trying to trap your son. Junho reached for my hand under the table. Chairman Kong studied me for a long moment. Then, my son is the future of this company. He will be a public figure. The woman beside him will be scrutinized, judged, photographed. Are you prepared for that? For the criticism? For people saying you're not good enough, not Korean enough, not right? Father, Junho said sharply. That's enough. But I held up a hand. No, let him finish. Chairman Kong continued. I'm not trying to be cruel, Ms. Johnson. I'm being realistic. Korean society is conservative, traditional. An interracial relationship at Junho's level will cause controversy. Our shareholders, our partners, our clients, many will disapprove. This will not be easy. I never expected easy, I said quietly. I came to Korea alone with 2 suitcases and a dream. Easy isn't what I'm looking for. I'm looking for worth it. And your son? He's worth it. Junho squeezed my hand so tight I thought he'd break it. Chairman Kong was silent. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. You have courage. I respect that. He stood. Junho, bring her to Sunday dinner. I want your mother to meet her. And he left. Junho let out a breath he'd been holding. Maya, I'm so sorry. Don't apologize for him. He's protecting you. I get it. But he had no right. He had every right. He's your father. I squeezed his hand back. The question is, are you ready for this? For what choosing me means? Junho looked at me with such intensity it hurt. Maya, I would choose you in 100 lifetimes, in 100 worlds, in any version of reality. You're not a choice I'm making despite the consequences. You're the choice that makes everything else worth it. I kissed him then, in that expensive restaurant with the chairman's cologne still lingering in the air. I kissed him like he was my oxygen. Because he was. Day 30, the end of our agreement. Junho picked me up at 6 a.m. Wouldn't tell me where we were going. Just said, trust me. We drove for 2 hours out of Seoul into the countryside. And then I saw it, the ocean. Specifically, Gyeongdongjin Beach, one of the most beautiful places I'd ever seen. The sun was rising, painting the sky in pinks and golds. The water was calm, reflecting the light like a mirror. This, Junho said, is where I come when I need to think, when I need to remember why I'm doing everything I'm doing. We walked along the shore in silence. Then he stopped. Today's the day, he said. 30 days. I promised you if you still wanted to leave, I'd drive you to the airport. My heart was pounding. So, he continued, voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. Do you want to leave? I looked out at the ocean, at this beautiful country that had broken me and rebuilt me, at this man who'd shown me a version of myself I didn't know existed.
No, y whispered.
I don't want to leave.
No. No.
I want to stay, not because of you, though you're a huge part of it, but because I finally see what I couldn't see before. I see a future here, a home. Junho exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for 30 days. There's something I need to tell you, he said. Something I've been working on. Okay. You said Korean parents don't want you teaching their kids, that Hagwons pass you over. So I've been in talks with the Seoul International School. They're opening a new campus in March, focused on multicultural education, and they want you, head of English department. Full benefits, competitive salary, work visa sponsorship. I stared at him. You? What? I didn't use any influence, I swear. I just connected you with the right people. They reviewed your credentials, your teaching philosophy, your recommendations. They want you, Maya. Not because of me. Because you're brilliant. Tears streamed down my face. But, he continued, there's more. My father wants to meet with you privately. He's actually impressed by you. He never admits when he's wrong, but he told me yesterday that you have good character, which, coming from him, is practically a marriage proposal. I laughed through my tears. So, Junho said, getting down on one knee. Junho, what are you? Relax, he grinned. Not that kind of proposal. Not yet. But this, he pulled out a small box. Inside was a key. Is a key to my place. Move in with me. Let's start this next chapter together. No pressure, no expectations. Just us. I looked at this man. This beautiful, kind, unexpected man who changed my life in 30 days. Yes, I said. Yes to all of it. The job, the key, the life. Yes. He stood and kissed me as the sun rose over the ocean, and I finally understood what home felt like. It's been 6 months since that New Year's Eve. I'm now head of English at Seoul International School. I love my job. My students are incredible, Korean kids, mixed kids, expat kids, all learning together. I'm making a difference. Junho and I moved in together in March. We cook together, explore Seoul together, argue about whose turn it is to do dishes. His father invited me to join the Kong Foundation Board, a non-profit promoting multicultural education in Korea. Turns out, behind that stern exterior is a man who genuinely wants to change things. Do I still face racism? Yes. Just last week, a taxi driver refused to pick me up. But now I have people who stand with me, who fight with me, who remind me I belong. And Junho? He proposed for real last month. At the same rooftop where we met, in front of all our friends. I said yes before he even finished asking. So this is my story. The story of how I almost gave up on Korea on New Year's Eve. How a stranger became my home. How 30 days changed my life forever. To everyone watching who's ever felt invisible, who's ever thought about giving up, who's ever wondered if it's worth staying. Sometimes the best things in life happen right when you're about to walk away. Sometimes home finds you in the most unexpected places. Sometimes all you need is someone to see you, really see you, to remember why you started in the first place. This is Maya Johnson Kong, reminding you that love has no borders, courage has no color, and sometimes the greatest adventure is the one you almost didn't take. Thank you for watching AfroKorean StoryVault. If the story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs hope today. I'll see you next Saturday. Until then, stay brave.